The selection, the arena was full of noise. Thousands of alien voices filled the air. Bright lights flashed across the sky dome, showing the names of warriors from many different worlds. It was the day of the Great Selection, when the best human warrior would choose one alien trainee from the prison camps. Captain Riker stood tall in the center, wearing dark armor with the Earth emblem on his chest. He was a hero of many battles, feared and respected across galaxies. Today he could choose anyone. Every species wanted to be trained by a human. It was the fastest way to become powerful, maybe even a legend. A large screen showed the prisoners. They were all dangerous. Some had claws, others had metal skin. One had already crushed a wall with his fist. The crowd shouted the names of the strongest. Everyone expected Riker to choose one of them, but Riker's eyes moved to the corner of the screen. There, sitting alone, was a small alien girl. She looked weak. Her skin was pale blue, her arms thin. She sat with her head down, legs crossed, not speaking to anyone. Her file said, "Species unknown, no combat record, mental state, unstable." The crowd laughed when her image appeared. "She's useless," one alien shouted. "A joke," another yelled. Even the announcer sounded confused. "Captain Riker, please confirm your choice. Surely you meant someone else." But Riker only nodded. "I choose her." Silence hit the arena. Then, louder laughter. Zura, the weak alien girl, looked up slowly. Her large eyes blinked. She didn't understand. Why her? Guards pushed her forward. She walked toward Riker, small and unsure. Her steps were slow. She looked like a shadow next to him. The announcer spoke again, voice full of disbelief. "Captain Riker has selected Zura, the weakest of the candidates." Riker turned to the cameras. "She's not weak. She's just untested." He placed a hand on her shoulder. She flinched, not used to being touched kindly. Later, in the ship, Zura sat in silence. Riker piloted without speaking. After some time, he looked at her. "You don't talk much," he said. Zura stared at the floor. Then very quietly she said, "You made a mistake." Riker raised an eyebrow. "Why do you think that?" "I'm broken. That's what they said. I was rejected by my own people." Riker didn't answer at first. He took a deep breath. "I've seen weapons made from scrap. Sometimes the most broken things can hit the hardest." Zura looked at him confused. Then something strange happened. Her eyes changed color, just for a second, from soft blue to deep orange, like fire. Riker noticed. He didn't say anything, yet. But now he was sure. There was something inside her. Something even she didn't understand. "Do you remember anything before the prison?" he asked. She shook her head. "Only fire and screaming, a planet burning." He nodded slowly. "You've got ghosts in your memory. We'll find out why." Zura frowned. "Why did you choose me?" Riker looked ahead at the stars. "Because you were the one everyone ignored," he said. "And that's usually where legends are hiding." As they flew deeper into space, Zura felt something shift inside her. A strange warmth. She didn't know what it was. Fear? Hope? Or something else? The training would begin soon. But this was only the beginning. The first test, Zura stood in the middle of a cold metal room. No windows, no warmth, just steel walls and silence. The training room inside Riker's ship was not made for comfort. It was made for war. And today was her first test. She held a wooden staff in her shaking hands. Across from her stood a combat droid, tall, fast, and brutal. It had one task: push her to the limit. Captain Riker stood outside the room, watching through a glass wall. His arms were crossed, his face showed no emotion. But inside he was watching every movement, every reaction. He wasn't just testing Zura's strength, he was testing her will. The droid's red eyes flashed. It attacked. Zura screamed and raised her staff. The blow was too strong. She fell backward, crashing hard onto the ground. The staff flew from her hands and hit the wall. The droid stepped back and waited. Its timer reset. Riker's voice came through the speaker. Calm, cold. Get up, Zura groaned. Her body hurt all over. She touched her ribs, maybe broken. I can't, she whispered. Get up. She didn't move. Riker pressed a button. The floor beneath Zura sparked with energy. Not enough to hurt, just enough to sting. A warning. Zura winced and slowly stood. Her legs were shaking. She reached for the staff again. The droid attacked. Once more. A sweeping kick. She jumped, barely avoiding it, but still fell. This time she didn't scream. She clenched her jaw and rolled to the side. Riker leaned closer to the glass. Good, he muttered. She's learning. For 3 days the test continued. Eat, train, fall, sleep. Zura lost count of how many times she failed. She wanted to quit. She wanted to cry. But every time she collapsed, she remembered Riker's words. Legends are hiding where no one looks. She didn't feel like a legend. She felt like dust. But something strange began to happen. Her body, once weak and tired, started to move faster. Her eyes began to notice patterns, the droid's rhythm, its movements. She started dodging better. One time she even struck it. Just once. But it was enough to make Riker raise an eyebrow. By the 7th day, she was still losing. But not like before. Now she was fighting. On the 8th night, Zura sat alone in the dark. She looked at her hands, bruised, cut, but steady. She spoke softly to herself. Why are you doing this? Why do you keep trying? And then she heard it. A voice from deep inside her mind. Not her own. Because you were made for more. Zura stood up, shocked. She looked around. No one was there. The room was silent. But inside, her chest, her heartbeat changed. It was slower now. Stronger, like a war drum. She felt something under her skin. Heat, energy, like fire flowing through her veins. Was she imagining it, or was something waking up? The next morning, Riker brought her to a different room. This one was open. Large, with real weapons. Today, he said, you fight someone real. Zura froze. What? From the shadows, another trainee stepped forward, a tall alien with armored skin and 4 arms. His name was Varnock. He had been training with Riker before her. He hated that a weakling was now part of the team. She won't last 2 minutes, Varnock said, smiling cruelly. Riker tossed Zura a short blade. Let's see. Zura's hands shook as she held the blade. She wasn't ready. Her breathing became fast. The fight began. Varnock didn't hold back. He charged like a beast. Zura ducked and rolled. She was fast, faster than before. Varnock swung with 2 fists. She blocked one, but the second hit her side hard. She flew across the floor. Riker didn't stop the fight. Zura lay still for a moment, blood on her lip, pain in her ribs again, and then the fire returned. This time she didn't resist it. Her eyes glowed, soft orange at first, then brighter. She stood slowly. Varnock charged again, but this time she moved. Fast. Too fast. She stepped aside at the last second and slashed his leg. He roared and swung wildly. She ducked, twisted, and drove the blade into his shoulder. The crowd of soldiers watching from above gasped. Varnock fell to one knee, stunned. Zura stood over him, eyes still glowing. Riker pressed a button. The fight ended. Zura dropped the blade. Her eyes dimmed. She swayed, then collapsed. Hours later, she woke up in the medbay. Riker sat beside her. You held back, he said. She looked at him, confused. What? You could have killed him, but you didn't. Zura said nothing. Riker leaned forward. Do you know what you did today? Zura shook her head. He showed her a video screen, the footage of the fight. She watched herself moving faster than possible. Energy glowing from her eyes, from her skin. That's not training, Riker said. That's something inside you. Something old. Something powerful. Zura felt cold. "What am I?" she asked. Riker looked at her with sharp eyes. "I don't know yet," he said, "but whatever you are, others are watching now." The power within Zura had stopped bleeding, but the fire inside her had not. She stood in the middle of the ship's observation deck, staring into space. Millions of stars blinked in silence. Some of those stars had planets. Some had life. And somewhere out there, someone was watching her, someone who feared her. She didn't know why, but Captain Riker did. He stood behind her, arms crossed. "You felt it, didn't you?" he said. Zura nodded without turning. It wasn't normal. No, it wasn't. Riker walked to the console and tapped a few keys. A hologram of her body appeared. Muscles, nerves, bones. But in her chest, near her heart, was a small, glowing object. It pulsed slowly. Not a machine, not natural. Something ancient. "What is it?" she asked. "We don't know," Riker said. "The humans found traces of it once in a forgotten ruin. Same energy, same shape. We called it a core flame. It was part of a lost civilization, one that was wiped out." Zura touched her chest. She didn't feel anything there, not physically, but when she focused, she could sense a soft warmth, like a sleeping volcano. "Is that what I am?" she asked. "A weapon?" Riker didn't answer at first. Then he said, "You might be more than that." That night, Zura had the dream again. Flames, screaming, giant tower falling from the sky. She saw her hands, larger, older, glowing with energy. She was leading others, creatures like her, into a battle. She was not weak. She was a leader. But just before she could see more, she always woke up, sweating, shaking. Something inside her was trying to come back. The next day, Riker took her and a small team to a dead moon, cold, dusty, and forgotten. They entered a dark underground ruin. Strange symbols lined the walls. No one had been here for hundreds of years. "This place belonged to your people," Riker said. "Long ago, before they vanished." Zura walked slowly, fingers brushing the walls. The symbols glowed faintly under her touch. "It remembers me," she whispered. Suddenly, a low hum filled the chamber. A hidden door opened. Behind it was a black stone floating in midair. It showed images, not with sound but with light and memory. The team watched in silence. Zura saw herself, not as she was now, but taller, stronger, surrounded by others of her kind. They stood on a burning battlefield, facing a massive enemy, a twisted creature made of shadow and metal. The battle was brutal, and Zura, the old Zura, unleashed a wave of energy that burned the sky. The image faded, the stone cracked, the light died. Silence. Zura stepped back, heart racing. "What was that?" one of the soldiers whispered. "Her past," Riker said. "Or her future." Zura sat down on the cold floor. Her mind was spinning. "I don't understand," she said. Riker kneeled beside her. "Your people were guardians of balance. They protected this galaxy from something terrible. But they failed. They died. And you, somehow, survived. Then why don't I remember any of it? Because someone didn't want you to." Back on the ship, things got worse. A signal was intercepted. A bounty had been placed on Zura, a massive one. Galactic warlords, assassins, hunters, all had now seen the footage of her glowing eyes. They knew something powerful was returning, and they wanted to stop it. Riker's ship was now being tracked. They had to move. But as they jumped into hyperspace, the ship was pulled out, not by force but by a message, a signal, old, forgotten, buried under layers of broken code. But it had Zura's name in it. She sat down at the terminal. Her fingers moved like they'd done it 1,000 times before. The code responded to her touch. A voice came through the speakers, soft, echoing. Female. Zura. If you are hearing this, then we failed. We buried your power. We hid your name, but the enemy is rising again. The weapon is not what you carry. It is what you are. The message ended. Zura sat in shock. She wasn't hiding a weapon. She was the weapon. Riker stood nearby, silent. His usual calm face was now hard. Serious. We don't have time to wait anymore, he said. The enemy knows you're alive. And they're coming fast. What enemy? Zura asked. Who are they? Riker took a breath. They're called the Hollow Legion. They're not made of flesh. They're machines. Empty. Cold. But they were created by something worse. A mind that wants to erase all life. You were made to fight them. Zura looked down at her hands. I don't feel ready, she whispered. No one ever is. Riker said. But you have a choice now. Run or rise. Zura looked out the window toward the stars. Somewhere out there, an old war was starting again, and she, the girl once called weak, would stand in its way. The forgotten weapon, the ship, shook. Sirens screamed. Zura gripped the edge of the console as Riker steered through an asteroid field. Behind them, a dark triangular ship followed without sound. No lights, no signal. Just black metal and death. It was the Hollow Legion. They found us faster than I expected. Riker growled. Zura turned to him. What do they want? Riker's jaw tightened. You. The Hollow Legion's ships didn't use normal weapons. They warped gravity. They bent metal. And when they hit, they didn't just destroy. They erased. Nothing left but dust. Zura felt it. That strange pressure. Again. Like her chest was full of thunder trying to break free. She reached for the controls, but Riker pulled her back. No, he said. You're not ready to face them yet. But I know where to take you. Where? He entered coordinates. The ship dove between asteroids and disappeared into hyperspace. They landed on a planet called Virex 9, forgotten, cracked, and filled with strange energy. Long ago it was home to ancient builders, the same ones who had once fought beside Zura's kind. Now it was dead, but not empty. Zura stepped out onto the dusty ground. Strange black trees grew in the distance, glowing slightly from within. Wind whispered in a language she almost understood. As they walked toward a broken temple, Zura's heart beat faster. She didn't know this place, but her body did. Her feet moved like they remembered the path. Inside the temple, walls were carved with thousands of symbols, battles, victories, flames. And one symbol appeared again and again. A figure standing, alone, glowing, holding a sphere of fire. Zura stared at it. That's you, Riker said softly. She shook her head. That can't be. I'm not this. You were, and you will be again. In the heart of the temple, they found a sealed door. Riker placed his hand on the scanner. Nothing happened. But when Zura stepped forward, the entire structure responded. Lights lit up. The door opened with a hiss. Inside was a long chamber filled with dust and silence. And in the center was a box, old metal, locked by strange glowing chains. Zura stepped toward it. Her hands trembled. She touched the box. The chains snapped. A quiet voice filled the room. A whisper from the box itself. Bearer of flame. Your silence ends. The weapon forgotten now remembers you. The lid opened. Inside was a small orb, no bigger than a fruit, glowing like a dying star. Zura reached for it, and the moment her fingers touched the surface, she remembered. Flashes of her old life rushed back. She was standing on the edge of a broken world, holding the orb. She was shouting orders in a voice full of strength. She was watching her friends die one by one, their bodies turned to ash by Hollow Legion machines. She was the last, and in her final moment, she had taken the orb, the heart of their defense, and sealed it into herself, to be reborn. One day, When the war returned, Zura dropped to her knees, gasping. The orb in her hand melted into light and entered her chest. She screamed. Her body rose off the ground, surrounded by fire. Riker stepped back, shielding his eyes. The flame wrapped around her, then vanished. She dropped to the ground, breathing, alive, but changed. Her skin glowed faintly. Her voice when she spoke was deeper. Steady. I remember, she whispered. I remember who I was. Riker helped her up. He looked into her eyes. Then you're ready. For what? He turned toward the exit. To lead. Back at the ship, a message waited for them. A colony had gone dark. No distress call, no survivors. Riker pulled up the last camera feed from the colony's surface. The image was broken, full of static. But one thing was clear. A hollow Legion war unit had landed. Zura clenched her fists. We're going there, she said. Riker didn't argue. They arrived at the colony the next day. The buildings were quiet. No smoke, no fire. Just stillness. Too still. Zura led the way. Her senses were sharper now. She could feel energy in the air, like electricity. Before a storm, they reached the control tower. Inside on the wall, someone had carved a message with their own blood. It watches. It remembers. It wants her. Zura turned to Riker. They know I've awakened. Before he could reply, a loud noise echoed outside. Machines. Marching. Zura walked out, blade in hand. Dozens of hollow Legion machines stood at the edge of the colony. Tall, sharp, glowing with a cold blue light. The lead machine stepped forward. It spoke in a mechanical voice. Return the flame. Or be deleted. Zura looked at Riker. No, she said. And then, for the first time since her awakening, she attacked first. The enemy moves. The video spread across 1,000 systems in less than a day. It showed a girl standing in the middle of a burning colony, her eyes glowing like suns, her hands crackling with energy. Around her, the shattered remains of Hollow. Legion machines lay in smoking pieces. She didn't speak in the video. She didn't need to. The galaxy heard her message loud and clear. The flame had returned. Zura sat quietly in the ship's meditation chamber. The battle had changed her. Before, she had felt fear, doubt. Now, she felt something different. She felt watched, not by people, but by the stars themselves, as if the galaxy remembered her. But not everyone was celebrating her return. On the war world of Kraxos Prime, a towering alien warlord slammed his clawed fist into a steel table. This human pet, he growled, thinks she can walk among gods? His name was Drolmek, and he had been undefeated for 20 years. He had killed champions, destroyed fleets, and crushed rebellions. And now the galaxy was talking about her, about Zura, not him. She is not a warrior, he spat. She is a spark waiting to die. He sent out a challenge, a public one, across every galactic channel. I, Drolmek of the Burning Claw, challenge the one called Zura. If she does not face me, then she is no warrior, only a child hiding behind fire. Riker watched the broadcast with a cold stare. Zura stood behind him. I'll face him, she said. You're not ready, Riker replied. I've fought machines. He's not a machine, he's worse. He enjoys pain, he's smart, and he plays dirty. Zura walked past him. I don't care, she said. Let him come. But something else was happening. Riker had been coughing for days. At first, he hid it. Said it was stress, dust, battle fatigue. But Zura noticed the blood. He was sick and hiding it. She confronted him in the training room. You're not telling me the truth, she said. Riker leaned against the wall, breathing heavily, his face pale, his strength fading. It doesn't matter, he said. My job was to get you ready. That's all that counts. Zura shook her head. You're not just a soldier. You're my commander. My only real friend. Riker smiled faintly. Then you need to be strong for both of us. The duel with Droll-Mech was set, a neutral arena on the black moon of Kessin 4. Billions tuned in to watch. The rules were simple, one-on-one. No weapons beyond what they carried, no help, no tricks. Zura stepped into the stone arena under a red sky. Her cloak moved with the wind. Her eyes were calm, but inside, fire was building. Across from her, Droll-Mech cracked his knuckles. His body was covered in armor made from the bones of his enemies. Let's see what legends are made of, he laughed. The horn sounded. He charged like a beast. Zura dodged, but he was fast. He slammed his fist into her side and she flew across the arena. Pain exploded through her ribs. He laughed again. Too easy. Zura stood slowly, blood on her lip, fire in her chest. She remembered Riker's words. Don't fight for victory. Fight for purpose. She steadied her breath. This time when he charged, she didn't dodge. She stepped forward and struck. Her fist glowed as it hit his chest. For the first time, Droll-Mech grunted in pain. She moved faster, glowing, burning, her body moving like wind and fire. Strike after strike. Block, twist, burn. He tried to grab her. She twisted, jumped, and slammed both palms into his back. He fell, hard. The crowd went silent. Zura stood over him. She didn't smile. She didn't cheer. She simply said, now you know. But as she turned to leave, a small dart hit her neck. Poison, hidden, illegal. From the shadows, someone had fired it. Zura fell to her knees, her vision blurred. Her heart slowed. Riker's voice shouted over the comm. Zura, get up. Droll-Mech stood. Again, eyes full of rage. I said no help. Who did this? From the shadows, a new figure stepped forward. It was someone from Riker's own team, a man named Kel. Quiet, loyal. Or so they thought. He smiled coldly. I didn't do this for Droll-Mech, he said. I did it for the Hollow Legion. He pressed a button. His body changed, shimmered, and became metal beneath his skin. A hollow spy. All this time, he had been watching Zura from inside the team. Droll-Mech growled. You dishonor combat. Kel didn't care. He raised a plasma blade. She's too dangerous. She should have never awakened. Zura tried to stand, but the poison was too strong. Her body collapsed. Kel moved in for the kill, but just before the blade could strike, Riker dropped from the sky in full combat armor. He hit the ground hard and fired. Kel was thrown back, burning. Riker grabbed Zura and carried her from the arena. The duel was over, but the war had just changed. Rise of the Warrior. The medbay was silent. Zura floated inside a healing tank, her eyes closed, her body still. The poison had nearly killed her. Even with advanced medicine, her recovery was slow. Riker sat outside the glass, one hand pressed to the surface. He hadn't left the room in days. His armor was still damaged from the arena, his skin pale. The sickness inside him was spreading, fast now. The medicine could no longer hide it. But he didn't care. Zura was alive. That was all that mattered. When she finally opened her eyes, the first thing she saw was light. But not from the room. From inside herself. The core flame. Her true power had grown stronger. She could feel it in every cell of her body. More importantly, she could feel them again. The voices of her people. Memories that had been sealed away. She heard them whispering, not in fear, in hope. Days later, she stood again. The crew gathered in silence. Riker stood beside her, leaning on a cane now, his body failing but his voice still strong. You're ready, he told her. Zura looked around the room. Soldiers, survivors. Some trusted her, some still doubted, but all of them were looking to her now. I'm not here to be your hero, she said. I'm here because something worse is coming. The Hollow Legion doesn't just want war. They want silence. They want to erase everything that breathes. She looked each of them in the eyes. And I won't let that happen. No cheering, just quiet nods, but it was enough. Zura had become something more than a survivor now. She was a leader. Their first mission came fast, a secret facility on the edge of the spiral arm, a lab built by an extinct race called the Virel, the same race that once fought beside Zura's people. Now it was controlled by the Hollow Legion, but it wasn't a weapons lab. It was a prison. And inside, according to the data Riker had uncovered, were the last children of Zura's kind. The dropship landed under cover of a storm. Zura led the team herself, 3 soldiers, 1 engineer, and a medic. They moved fast through the jungle of metal vines and broken towers. Inside the ruined structure, everything was quiet, too quiet. They reached the central vault without resistance. Zura placed her hand on the door. It opened. Inside were pods, about 20, each glowing faintly. Children, asleep, preserved, forgotten. Her breath caught in her throat. One girl inside looked just like her. Same eyes, same glow beneath the skin. Tears burned in Zura's eyes. She whispered, "I'm not the last." But the moment the vault door opened, alarm screamed. The floor shook. A voice filled the air. Not from speakers, but directly into their minds. The flame must be extinguished. From above, metal pods dropped from the ceiling. They opened. Mid-air, Echo-class hunters. They had no faces, no names, no fear, just blades and silence. The fight began instantly. Blasters roared, sparks flew. Zura moved like fire, fast, precise, deadly. She didn't think. She remembered. Every strike, every motion. It was all coming back, not as learning, but as unlocking. She had done this before. She had led this fight long ago, and now she was doing it again. But the enemy had adapted. The Echo Hunters shifted shape mid-battle. Some grew wings, others split into 2 smaller units. One nearly stabbed the medic before Zura leapt between them and unleashed a wave of energy so bright it burned the walls. Half the chamber collapsed. They had to move fast. She ordered the engineer to activate the pods and prep evacuation. "No. Time to argue," she shouted. "If they wake up inside this tomb, they die." As the last child's pod was loaded onto the ship, Zura stayed behind, alone, facing the last hunter. This one was different. It had her face, her voice. It whispered, "You failed them once. You will again." Zura's hands shook. Not in fear, in fury. "I am their flame," she said, and she crushed the copy in a storm of fire. The team escaped just before the facility collapsed. Back on the ship, the children began to wake. Some cried. Some stared in silence. One reached for Zura and said, "You look like the stories." She smiled through tears. "I am the story," she whispered. Later that night, Riker called her to the command deck. His voice was weaker now, his eyes tired. "I don't have much time," he said, "but I have one last thing to give you." He handed her a box. Inside was a small device, and old, damaged, but glowing. "A memory core," Riker said. "I found it years ago, couldn't open it, but it always reacted to your name." Zura touched it. The device flared to life. A hologram appeared. It was her mother. Not exactly, but a past version. Strong, glowing, regal. "If you are watching this," the figure said, "then our world is gone. But you are not. You carry the last spark of the flame bloodline. You are the shield and the sword." Zura fell to her knees, overwhelmed, but then her mother's voice grew cold. "The Hollow Legion is not your only enemy. There is one more, one who wears a human face, but was never one of them." Zura looked up at Riker, confused. But Riker was already falling, blood from his nose, eyes dimming. He smiled faintly. "I didn't want you to see this," he whispered. And then he collapsed. The legendary warrior. The stars were silent. Zura stood at the edge of the observation deck, looking into the darkness beyond the last known systems. Behind her, the ship was quiet, a silence born of grief. Riker was gone. His body had been placed in a cryo-capsule wrapped in the flag of Earth and set adrift through the stars. Warrior's Rest, as he called it. He had trained her. He had believed in her. He had died, with a secret on his lips. Zura held the glowing memory core in her hand. The last words of her mother echoed inside her. There is one more enemy, one who wears a human face, but was never one of them. She now knew who it was, the man who built the Hollow Legion, the man who betrayed both humans and ancients, the man known only as Director Solace. He had once been Earth's greatest scientist, a mind beyond genius. But he had seen life as flawed, broken, messy, and so he created the Hollow Legion, perfect, silent, obedient. Then he vanished. Rumor said he had died, but he hadn't. He had ascended, merged with machine, and now he waited for Zura at the edge of the galaxy. The ship jumped through the last gate, a rift in space known as the Black Veil. No one who entered it had returned. Zura took the Flame Children, the young survivors of her race, and left them, with allies. She left orders. No one was to follow. This was her war now. Inside the veil was a system of dead suns and broken worlds. At its center floated a massive structure, not a ship, not a station, but something ancient and wrong. A throne made of stars. The home of Solace. Zura landed alone. She walked through endless halls of metal and silence. Screens watched her. Machines whispered. Doors opened without touch. He was expecting her. She reached the central chamber. There, on a throne of black steel and glowing code, sat Solace. He looked human, old, wise, wearing a simple robe, but half his face was metal. His eyes glowed with something cold. I remember when you were born, he said. Zura didn't respond. You were created to be balance, he continued. But your people became sentimental, weak. They chose freedom over order, so I ended them. Zura stepped forward. Her voice was steady. You feared what you couldn't control. I improved what I couldn't control, Solace said. Look around. My machines don't lie, don't fail, don't betray. Zura raised her hand. Flames danced across her palm. Then why do you hide behind machines? She asked. If your truth is so perfect. Solace stood. His body shifted, metal crawling over skin, reshaping him into something huge and inhuman. His voice deepened. Because truth needs no face. He struck first. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Zura moved like fire, burning, dancing, striking with speed and power. Her every step cracked the floor. Her hands were weapons of living flame. Solace responded with cold logic, beams of energy, gravity pulses, swarms of drones. The chamber twisted and bent with the force of their clash. They broke walls, ceilings. Stars flickered as the station groaned. Solace tried to control her mind, invading her thoughts with machine signals. Zura screamed and pushed back. She didn't fight as a warrior. She fought as a people, as a memory, as a promise. And for the first time, Solace stepped back. Wounded, his metal form hissed. You're stronger than expected, he said. But you don't have the will to finish this. Zura raised her hands. Her body glowed like a living sun. I'm not here to destroy you, she said. I'm here to end this cycle. Solace frowned. What cycle? Zura walked forward. You kill because you fear chaos. You erase life because it doesn't obey. But order without soul is just a cage. You're not a god. You're just scared. She placed her hand on his chest. For a moment, fire met code, and everything froze. Zura closed her eyes and chose. The entire station lit up in golden light, not an explosion, but a reset. The Hollow Legion's core mind, the one behind every machine, read and stopped, froze, then crumbled. Across the galaxy, hollow machines dropped, silent, forever. Solace collapsed to the floor, his body breaking apart. Zura caught him. She looked into his fading eyes. "You could have built something beautiful," she whispered, his last words. "So could you." Then he was gone. Zura stood alone on the empty throne. The galaxy watched. No one spoke. No one moved. They had all seen what she did. She didn't conquer. She didn't destroy. She chose mercy. Weeks passed. Peace talks began between broken factions. The Flame Children were safe. A statue was raised on Earth, not of a soldier but of a girl standing in flame, holding light in her hand. Zura returned to the stars, not as a warrior, not as a weapon, but as a keeper of balance. She didn't want a crown. She didn't want a title. She only wanted to make sure no one ever felt the way she once did. Alone, forgotten, afraid. Now, when children across planets asked who she was, parents told the story. She was the weakest. Then she became the warrior who saved us all. Deep in space, on a quiet ship, Zura stood beneath the stars. A small voice, one of the Flame Children, asked her, "What are you now?" She smiled, eyes glowing faintly. "I'm still learning." And then she walked forward, into the next galaxy, into legend.